All right, lady.
Yay.
God, this is 17.
I know.
Can you believe that?
I can. But,
You can?
But I can't.
That's very sweet of you to say. Well, we have a Mother's Day episode, my first mama in comedy.
Sounds bad, my first mom.
Oh, mama.
yeah.
My first mother of
It's
comedy.
appropriate.
Yeah,
First
mother.
mama, Mother's Day.
And on Mother's Day. So, episode 17, Bite-worthy, we're here. Every week we have two comedians, and they're bite-worthy. Bite-worthy is a phrase that still trying to get it coined, but I might just give up on
No,
the
never give
phrase.
up. Never give up.
We'll see. But it means, in my vernacular, and hopefully everybody else's, that a comedian that's worth stealing from or worth wanting to take their joke, we don't do it, but they're good enough where they have a bit or like a persona or something about them that you're like, oh, that's so good, I wish I had it.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Bite-worthy comedians are pretty much who I have on here. And do I call you Brittany?
I prefer Britt.
Britt.
It's confusing for a lot of people. Brittany is my name, but I just like Britt.
Short, sweet, good.
Yeah.
So we're here with Britt Ammons, everybody.
Yes.
Yay. Oh, you took me to a really good place.
It's good, right?
I like
you'd
when
like
people.
it.
Nobody has had bad taste,
Sure.
but some people have had better taste.
Or basic taste, right?
Sometimes basic, or they just where they like. No offense, and people pick Waffle House. I love Waffle House. I love hash browns.
We love you, Ben.
But yeah, we love you, Ben. But if that's where they like, no judgment. But
Sure.
this place is really good.
With a name like Brittany, you gotta not be basic. You gotta work extra hard to be not basic.
Anti-basic.
Anti-basic.
I think Brittany was the name of my first heckler, and she had, is it Jessica or Madison, or some super
Ashley.
white girl, because she
Yeah.
goes, that for my first heckle, I wrote a joke about it. She goes, everything's a learning experience. I was like, oh man, I'd rather been stabbed.
Well, that was the nicest way you could have told me.
I know, but it was at Limerick, and it kind of built it. I'll take it because it made a joke out of it. So,
Right.
new format, everybody. What we're gonna do is keep it nice and short and sweet, and then we're gonna BS and shoot the shit afterwards. That's pretty much what we're gonna do.
Right.
So, question 1 is about comedy.
Okay.
I'm not too in touch in your profile. You're like, is that what the kids are saying?
I know.
I have the same way. I walked into a second job that I was working for a while, and the kid goes, cool shirt, no cap. And I took my hat off because I didn't know what he meant. And I was like, oh, okay. And he started laughing at me. I'm like, what are you doing? I said, you said no cap. And so let me ask you, we're close in age.
Yeah.
What were the funny slang things that like we used to say that you liked growing up that they don't say anymore?
Well, now because TikTok took off, everybody's always making fun of millennials and that kind of stuff. So the whole I was today years old when I learned, we do that. Or, I did a thing today. I still post that. I still go, I did a thing. And I guess all the younger generation's laughing at me. My 15-year-old daughter loves to say bet.
Bet?
Bet. And I didn't realize that meant yes. Or I still don't really honestly know what it means.
Yeah.
I have to take the context clues, know.
Luckily, I have black friends. So
Right, because I am so weird. Yeah, because they'll talk to me and I'm just like, is that good or bad? I'm not sure. But yeah, I still say cool beans.
Me too. I text cool beans.
Cool beans.
Often.
And people give me just the thumbs up, the ambiguous thumbs up, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I get made fun of because I'll still say cool beans. I'll still say like something stupid off the wall, like all that in a bag of chips. I said bomb.com the other day, and that's old.
Well, we have a Venn diagram of our
oldie.
age and our whiteness of so what of what we're saying is our age and what of it is our just basic whiteness, because people are like, how's your day going? And you're like, every day's a dream, or you say something like that, and
Yeah.
I say that kind of stuff, and then I'm like, is that because I'm 33 or is that because I'm just basic?
Probably a little bit of both. We got both going on.
Yeah.
So do they inspire jokes for you? Like
Sometimes.
Old references and stuff like
old
that.
references too, but I think one of the biggest anxieties I have when I'm writing is that I feel ancient compared to all the other comedians, which is hilarious because we're not that much older, but 15 years makes a huge difference.
Especially in like vernacular and
Absolutely.
what people say and stuff. It's an odd thing.
It is. So when I'm writing, I'm sitting there going like, I'm chuckling at this, and I'm like, oh, it's funny, or if it's a reference or something like that I get, I'm like, oh man, I have to sit there and like ask myself, like, will a 21-year-old get this?
Probably. I mean, unless it was made fun of ironically, like that's probably the only way.
Well,
That's just weird.
That's the gear I've switched to. Is that now when I have that moment and I'm writing something, instead of doing it that way, I try to figure out a way to turn it on myself as almost like a deprecating, like a self, like, oh, I'm old, this is why. And so that even if they don't get what I'm saying, they'll laugh at it because like I'm the butt, you know. So it's like, oh, this chick's being an old chick, okay.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem I have with that is like that distinction between like I look young. So people tend to get confused.
Same.
You know, I'm making all these jokes about being old and lame. My kids,
like, how are you old and
they're
lame?
like, you're like 25, and I'm like,
no, I was around when, like, do you remember Mbop? And like no, they I don't know what that is. That happened to me at a coffee shop. So I'll move to the next question soon. But Mbop was playing on the radio station, and this girl, she was in high school, and had to have been like a freshman or a sophomore in high school, because she had to have been like 15, 16 or something, like summer job age. And Mbop came on. I'm like, Mbop, and she goes, what? She took off her headset, like, what? I said, oh, Mbop, and she goes, I don't know what you're saying. I could have been speaking Mandarin. Like, she's like, I have no idea. I could have been like, Wusha Ryan. And she'd be like, I don't know. And so that's when I was like, I'm old. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it.
I used to watch Hanson on pop-up video on VH1.
When VH1 was a station that actually played music.
I would come home after school and I would lay in my bed and I would wait because it was going to come on.
Pop-up video.
And I would wait, pop-up video. I used to love it, yeah.
All right, so you have a joke about wine and cheese.
Yeah.
Because not only are you white, but you have taste. What are some of your favorite wines and some of your favorite cheeses?
Oh man, how basic. All right. Ironically, I don't have expensive taste.
Okay.
So I wish I could be really fancy and like name drop some kind of expensive wine. I like Sutter Home Pinot Grigio.
Okay, so Pinot Gris.
A headache is the same no matter what it did in the bank account.
Yeah, that's true. So you're a white. You're a red.
I'm a white whiner, yeah. I keep trying to like red wine because it seems more sophisticated, but I just don't like it. It's bitter. I don't like it.
Okay, so there are some red wines that are not as bitter. I would go when I don't drink, but when people tell me like this is an old world wine, go with old world, which means on the side of the world like Italy and France. Spanish wines. So try those. You might like it. What about cheese? Are you like a brie fan?
I don't like the only soft cheese I like is queso.
That's God. You're whiter.
I got called Wonder Bread. When I was in high school, I was in color guard. I was the rifle captain in color
Wonder
guard.
Bread?
Wonder Bread, yeah. We went to a notoriously black high school where they're so cool. Like their drum line was so cool. Their band was cool. And I'm just like walking around, you know, and I asked someone else in the other band like where the bathroom was. She goes, oh, Wonder Bread.
Oh, Wonder Bread. Oh,
yeah, it's pretty basic.
You poor white girl.
Yeah, I don't like blue cheese. I mean, I don't dislike other cheeses.
Do you like sweet things?
No, I have a salty palate.
Okay.
I'm not a big dessert person. I'm big into like cheese and salty stuff and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care.
So we need to refine your palate. I got you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll work on that.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, it's Mother's Day. So first off, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So happy that it worked out so serendipitously.
It did.
What is one of the best parts about motherhood?
About motherhood?
About being a mom.
Oh, the best part about being motherhood? Ooh. I mean, it's really cool to see like a person that you. This is gonna sound messed up. It's like a Build-A-Bear. The person that you build that you raise, that you influence, like come into their own and have like their own personality, be their own person. It's kind of like it blows your mind, but it's also really cool. It's really cool. Yeah.
I can see that.
Seeing them have their own like desires and thoughts and feelings and stuff like that.
Personality to develop.
Yeah. And when
like,
they do,
he's got a temper. Oh, he's like, he really likes this type of thing.
It's introspective. Like it tells you a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you see them react in a good way or a mature way, you're really like, oh, I did it, whatever.
Nice.
If you see them react in a bad way, you're like, oh, I messed that one up, like it's like, that's probably my fault.
Yeah.
But it's still great. It's still good to see, yeah. And my kids are older, so they're really coming into their own. I mean, my oldest she's going to be a sophomore next year. So we got prom and boys and all kinds of things, and it's just kind of like...
Wowee. I asked my Nana that question, and she said, she goes, when they're young, they need you. Mm-hmm. And she goes, that's so nice. And I asked her, and I'm going to ask you, what's the worst thing about motherhood?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, I think that as a woman, the hard part about being a mother is that you lose a lot of your own identity for a long time. So when you first have a baby,
in mom mode,
and when
all
they're
your
young,
hobbies and tastes and things,
everything
backseat.
They need you for everything.
Yeah.
And you lose a lot of your identity and a lot of your self-worth and a lot of your self-time enveloped in trying to raise this good human. And it can feel a little bit numbing and a little bit confusing as far as like, who am I? Like, what do I need?
So the sacrifice itself.
Sort of, yeah. Okay. But then once they get older and that starts to go away, you almost miss it a little bit because they're so independent and they're so their own person, and you're kind of like, wait, I was the coolest, But that is a hard part.
That's why cruisers are so popular. Like people go on cruises, like, oh, I'm trying to get some of that back. I get it.
Like that.
And that makes sense. So, are you looking forward to all the material that they're going to provide to you?
Oh, I mean, I already have so much.
That's awesome.
It is great, but it's kind of a double-edged sword because being an Atlanta comic. So now that I've been traveling a lot, it's been an interesting perspective of the different, moods of where you are. And Atlanta is very interesting, versatile because I live in the burbs, right? Yeah. So where I live, it's like wineries, middle-aged white people that love jokes about their
Target
kids.
And gentrification.
They get it. It's there. But if you're at a cool, hip place in Buckhead or Decatur or even in Athens, the reference isn't there. They don't understand what you're saying.
That's super true.
So as a comedian, it's hard to write material that's like versatile enough for both, because that's my life. I mean,
finding that universal kind of puzzle piece that kind of gets everywhere. It's nice to know where it's like if you were to do Lawrenceville, Swanee, or whatever, you're like, this is home field advantage.
Generally,
I'm a 2 touchdown favorite on this one.
Yeah,
that is fun. I did
fun.
Dahlonega and a couple times actually, and because I'm close, it's nice, and it's a fun room, and I feel at home there.
A Canopy?
Yeah,
I'm gonna be there soon, a couple weeks.
Well, we'll plug it. We'll plug at the end. You have a bunch of stuff to plug, a bazillion.
Sorry,
shows. But that's okay. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
What are the similarities between like comedy and motherhood? Like both take effort.
So many. Definitely effort.
Give me a few.
You get in what you put out. Definitely.
See that.
People are going to judge you. Have opinions about what you're doing, no matter what.
Right or wrong.
I mean, motherhood.
I see that.
So a lot of I had kids young and all of that. So now the age I am and everything, a lot of my friends and a lot of my peers are just now starting into their journey. That they have toddlers, right? So they're struggling and they're going through that identity crisis and the frustration and the ego and the judging. And I tell them like, look, people are going to judge you whether you do well or whether you do badly. So you might as well do well.
You might as well.
You might as well enjoy yourself and have a good time, because if you're being a terrible mother and you're falling apart, they're going to talk smack about you. And if you're a great mother and you're just Martha Stewart, they're going to talk smack about you. So and comedy's kind of the same way. If you're taking off and you're just doing things and you're making moves, people always have something to say about how that happened or why that happened. And if you are not, same thing. So I kind of try to apply some of those same lessons I learned as a mom to that.
Might as well have the success.
Yeah, and it's kind of a very ungrateful thing. So children, until they're older, they don't understand the sacrifices and the things they put into it.
That's very true. I'm guilty of that, because I see, and it's weird how, whether it's like a TV show that had a reference or a situation I didn't understand as a kid. My mom told me this one story, and then I was like, oh, that's what was happening? Oh, yes. Okay. And then just later on in life that happens. I was like, oh, man. So that makes sense.
Comedy's kind of the same way. I think that, people don't always see all the work that's going into it on the front end. They just see the results on the back end. And everybody wants to have an opinion about it, but it is what you make of it.
Yeah, and then like kids that are like young, they walk around, they stumble, they throw up. It's kind of like late night comics at times.
Absolutely.
That's what happens.
Absolutely.
Okay. So not as many comics have a wife or husband and are married.
Yeah.
So who's the better cook? I figured it'd be a tough one. You guys both.
I'm a great cook, surprisingly.
I
My
believe it.
grandmother and my mom, they taught me a lot. But I don't
Southern
like
cooking, pretty much.
Southern cooking. Yeah, I can make some really good Southern cooking. I think it's not so much who's better; it's who I don't like to cook very much. I will.
My God, we have the same scenario.
I'm very domestic. I love it. I'm very traditional in my values. So I love that whole husband comes home to a clean house and a cooked meal. But
Hell yeah.
it's not. It doesn't fill me with joy. I'm okay at it, but it doesn't make me happy. But when he cooks, it's kind of like he knows. He knows he's killing it. It's like he gets a little ego boost out of it, and everyone's so impressed. The man cooks. So
The same way.
don't-
We have the same house because April was raised in her mom is she's the corporate biscuit woman for Golden Pantry. She really is. She's
Okay.
she's in the training videos for Golden Pantry corporate.
Wow, okay.
So these are the best biscuits ever, and I'm
Okay.
not exaggerating.
I believe
it's
that,
real.
yeah.
So she comes from knowing to cook well.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't like to cook. I love to cook because I'm Italian and I'm braggadocious.
Right.
And,
It's in your genes.
I mean, I came out like that.
It's your birthright.
Yeah, I just came out with a bottle of olive oil. I'm just
Absolutely.
like, buongiorno, here I am,
Buongiorno,
here I am,
absolutely.
and I do cook well, and people do get really impressed when I
Sure.
cook. Not all the time, but most of the time.
Yeah.
And I try, and it's the same scenario. It's wild. That's very cool.
Socioeconomic.
So what's the best dish that either you guys cook in the Ammons household? Is it your chicken fried steak or his steak chimichurri? Or
I win this one for sure. Two things. So they're both pies. I make homemade chicken pot pie.
No joke.
Yeah, so I have a garden, so that's extra.
I would love to eat
extra
your pie.
fancy. You're not the only one. So no, so that
sounds really good.
That's a whole different level of when I'm actually on my shit. Before I started comedy and I had more free time and I was in my garden, so I had my own carrots, my own
That's
stuff.
so good.
But we'll digress with that. I make homemade chicken pot pie from scratch. All of it, the sauce, the veggies, everything. Bake it, cook it, and everybody loves it. They
So
request
you
it.
celery, onion, carrot.
Celery, onion, carrots,
the main
corn.
three. Corn?
Some people put lima beans. I don't love lima
No.
beans. I do corn, celery, onion, carrot,
Corn's acceptable. That's a good one.
Yes,
That's
and then
a
I
good filler.
use. You have to use rotisserie chicken if you don't grill
pull-
the chicken
pull it.
yourself. Rotisserie chicken, pull it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Don't give away all your
I won't.
secrets.
Okay, all the secrets. Homegrown eggs.
Okay.
But then I also make apple pie. That's my dessert.
pie.
I don't really eat desserts, so it was really ironic because I'm not a big sweets person, but my grandmother had this recipe for apple pie, a family recipe, and one day I tried it and everybody...
Traditional or Dutch?
Traditional, yep. Yeah, and everybody lost their mind. This is the best apple pie they've ever had in their entire life. And so now people
Dang.
beg me to make it constantly, and
good
I show all my girlfriends how to make it so they can get married. See, I've made a lot of marriages.
You just
off my
walk
apple
around
pie.
Atlanta looking for a husband.
Right,
You
I
get
was already
one.
married, but
Yeah.
so my pies are pretty legendary.
Killer.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm gonna have to.
You have to request
off
it.
camera and do that.
Yes.
And my grandpa he's like a big apple pie guy. So anytime his birthday rolls around or anything, apple pie a la mode, no
Pie
question.
with vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, some people put cheddar cheese on apple pie.
I've heard that. Ew.
I'm not gonna.
I like
try
homemade
it.
whipped cream. I'll make homemade whipped cream.
Yeah.
And that's how I know I'm really old school and really Southern because all my younger girlfriends are all you can make whipped cream. Their minds are just blown. I'm it's
Yeah,
really
you take
easy.
cream and you whip
And you
it.
whip it. Real good. Yeah. So.
Yeah. On Tim's episode, I asked him what song would you play for me? He goes, Devo, Whip It. And I was like, what? But it was just because it was playing. It's not his first thing. He's just-
People can never figure out for me as far as opening songs, different clubs. They'll ask me because the DJs are ooh, because do you have a dark emo vampire girl vibe, or are you Britney basic Aguilera vibe? And I'm really either or. It doesn't matter.
Oh man, what would I play for Britt?
Yeah, it's hard.
I just played the X-Men theme song.
I've gotten that. Or Twilight. God, I hate
Twilight. So you're relatively clean as a comic.
I try.
And less clean off stage.
Absolutely.
I am the same exact way. This is not a safe for work podcast or show, whatever you call it. I call it a show.
Yeah,
so
show.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Like I wrote a joke, and I haven't told it, but it involves just a string of curse words because I don't say them, and I haven't said it yet, but it's my only blue joke, my real blue joke.
Sure.
And I accidentally said fuck twice on stage, and I kind of breezed past it, but it just doesn't. I'm starting to get my persona.
Sure.
Likeable short guy who's kind of funny and dancy and witty, and I guess that's kind of my lane.
Yeah.
I guess.
It can be hard, yeah, because I think being like a girl, people expect you to either be like really raunchy and gross or super clean or whatever, and like trying to find a middle ground. And then of course just being smart about like the cleaner you can work, the more marketable you are, the better it is.
You literally answered my question, and I'll give you a good example of who rides the line of both is Amy Brown. Mm-hmm. She has
absolutely.
I say she puts the NSFW in PTA, and she puts like the TNA in PTA, and it's very like she's so both. I don't want to burn her punchline, but she has a pussy joke that's about Schrodinger's cat.
Sure.
Because her husband's a super nerd. I met him, a physicist, and that led to a joke, which was cool. But she has she can perform at a church, and then she can perform at a raunchy competition.
Absolutely.
And that's important to do.
That's the nail I'm trying to hit.
I think you're doing well, because I've heard some of your off-color jokes, and then I've heard some of your just kind of pretty well written, just clean, standard, traditional comedy, and that's what I learned on.
Right.
That's the kind of comedy that I grew up on. Very Ray Romano.
Sure.
That's kind of what I want to be.
Well, and it's always nice when, and I think JoJo touched on this as well, when you can say something innuendo, or you can say something kind of elusive without saying it. That's always nice when people get it, and you don't have to. Because there's a few jokes, especially I have some jokes about my kids that I have some curse words in it, but it's not just for the sake of cussing. It's for the reaction you get visualizing a cute blonde 10-year-old saying it.
Yes.
And so there's curse words in that for that reason, but not because I'm I know if I say ass, people will laugh.
Yeah, and it's different if you quote something versus you said this.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
I'm quoting this person, they said blankety blank.
Sure.
And
I've been accused of being boring. I had a comedian in particular who was really kind of edgy and wild and all that kind of stuff, and she was like, I loved your set, the writing was smart but boring, and
that's a pretty good critique, though.
Absolutely. And I got
there's a compliment and a criticism,
right? And I got in my own head about it for a long time, kind of I need to be edgy or something like that, and then I just kind of figured out that that's okay, it's okay, because that's just kind of where I'm going with it, and it'll get better. But I worried about that. Does that mean that people are going to be bored? But maybe at Limerick or maybe in Atlanta they might be, but at gigs where I'm getting paid or booked, it's better. So
very, very true. And I was going to say that working clean leads to more work. It does. I mean, it was a rhetorical question I was going to ask you, but it does.
Yeah.
Because you will play corporate gigs, you'll play a brewery, you'll play private events.
Sure.
That's what'll happen, and that's kind of what you're doing now, and it's spread elsewhere. And then clean comics, they're just, it's almost like, what do they say? A square is a rectangle, but not a rectangle isn't always a square. It's like if you're looking for a comic, that I can book this one because they're clean, but you don't know if you can always book this one because they're not.
It's riskier, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's almost like when you work 90% clean and you have that 10% of you that's raunchy, it's almost more entertaining because it's not as expected and it's more unusual.
Yeah.
So
I've had that. I've had that experience where I've actually said something like fuck or shit or something that I usually don't say, and it and it hit hard.
Right.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't say that very often.
Yes.
So that's good. So let me ask you,
Yes.
you have a favorite joke of yours. Do you have a favorite joke of yours? Like, you're like, I love this joke so much.
You mean like because it hits well, or just because I love it?
No,
because it's
because
different.
you love it. Because I have, my favorite joke doesn't, it gets, it's like, it's B-.
Yeah, I think the one I want to work so much, and my wine joke, only because it's so personal to me. Of like, I've just spent so many nights
closet
in my
room.
closet drinking, like just as a mom, as a wife, as a middle-aged woman, as whatever. Like, there's so many reasons why that I've just been in there working through some stuff, you know. And so to me, it's just so real. It's just so like I can't fall.
I can picture you in a closet.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to fall apart. I got to keep it together. But for right now, behind my skinny high school pants, I am okay. And so sometimes I do it in women, just like it just, you know, I see the fire, they feel it. And other times they're just kind of like, wow, okay.
This girl's got problems.
So it's definitely one of mine that I'm still, it's always evolving. It's actually gotten a lot better than it used to be. But I love that one for some, I just want it to work.
And so so your favorite joke is a clean joke.
I think so. Yes. Well, that's my favorite clean joke. And then I think my favorite dirty joke is I have my DP joke.
I haven't heard it.
You haven't heard that joke?
No.
I don't do it all the time. Do you want me to tell it right now?
No. If you don't, I don't want to spoil it. You tell me. It'll tell me.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah, off camera.
But that one is always hit or miss too, and I never know with the room, because even if the room, you know, even if you're kind of dropping breadcrumbs along the way to kind of feel it out to see if it'll be okay to tell that joke.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do it and they love it, and other times it's kind of like, like, you know,
you went there.
You were okay until then, yeah. So
you went there.
It's my riskiest joke.
I think my favorite joke that I wrote is, I've only told this joke once or twice, and it's a joke about cancel culture and how I don't believe in, you know, canceling people and doing that, but every so often someone makes a case that I can kind of get behind, and it's there's a jigger that bartenders use.
Yes.
I make a joke about that, and then the second punchline in there, or second joke in there, is like chink in the armor. Okay, I get it. It describes weakness or vulnerability. Mm-hmm. It also sounds like you really hate samurais, and I'm so proud of myself, and I love that joke so much. And it's one of my favorites. It doesn't really get a laugh too much. It's kind of kind of funny. I accidentally told that joke at the graduation show, and I totally forgot. Before me, there was a blind Asian comic, and I was like, oh no, whoever didn't read the room. Yeah.
Who was that? Was that?
I think his name was James Sun or James Song or something like
man.
that. I couldn't remember. But he had a really good bit where he walked up on stage and faced the wall, and
right.
It was good. It was funny, very funny.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot, and I was like,
Wow.
And I remember seeing, because sometimes there's a joke that is funny and well written that you just forget who has been up. And I saw actually a comic, I won't name him, but he had a couple jokes about gay guys, and but unfortunately, like, I think it was Matthew English and Ian Hebert went up.
Oh, why?
I was like, oh fuck. And
yeah.
So, like, why'd you do that? why'd you pick those jokes? Because like if I see, and I've been in a situation where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna tell these jokes, and I had a joke where I was for the time Atlanta's third shortest male comedian.
Nice.
And then I met Jesse, who's 5 foot even.
Really?
Yeah, he's tiny. And for me to call someone short, you know, they're usually a toddler. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm 5'1", so yeah, I hear you.
But you're a girl.
Sure.
Very different. But Jesse's short, and he messed up my joke because I'm now number 4, and I was like, what do I do? But I was like, I luckily it wasn't as bad as, like, I'm telling a joke that's offensive to a certain type of people, and then those type of people are there.
Sure.
So if I were to have like a risque trans joke, and then, like, let's say PJ was there, and I'd be like,
right, yeah,
I can't say that.
Definitely sour the situation.
And it makes you think, like, should I say that joke, period? Is that funny? Should I have contacted, PJ before? Like, is that, what do I do there? And I don't know. That's just, so that's my favorite joke. I don't think it's quite clean joke. I don't think it's quite dirty. I don't curse in it, but I technically say the word chink, so I can't.
Right.
You walk in that line, and I like walking that line sometimes. So I'll ask one last question.
Okay.
You get it a lot.
Yeah.
About your silver streak.
Yeah.
It's. I think it is a lovely quality.
Thank you.
And it's you didn't mean to do it, but it sets you apart, and it's branding.
Yeah.
If you were an X-Men, not Rogue, who would you be?
Well, that's the part that sucks, is that like Rogue probably is one of my favorites.
Of course.
I mean, she'd kill a man by touching him. It's just so
Humble
unassuming,
brag.
and yeah, I mean, I mean, the feminist in me loves it. I like Rogue. Yeah, because I mean, some of the men, like I see all the downfalls of their powers. You know what I mean? And for Rogue, it's kind of like, oh, she can't get close to people. Like, okay, you're welcome. Like save her the trouble, right? Like, you won't be heartbroken. But
she'd flourish in quarantine.
It's like her powers saved her from a life of heartache and codependency.
And then during COVID, she's just locked. She's I'm good. I'm not hurting nobody.
I wish I was cool. Yeah, well, I used to do the joke where I was talking about how I know I look like an X-Men character, and I'm like, right now it's Storm, but I got plenty of other gray. I mean, it's just that for some reason when I was very, very young, it started to come in strongly. It's like it's an Irish thing. My mom was almost completely gray at 30, and I have like some other streaks, but this one is just really predominant in the front. In my side part, because I'm a millennial, and but I got plenty of the gray, and I'm like, I'm gonna be Storm soon enough, and then probably just like Dr. Xavier when it all just falls out.
Oh man, you don't have any. You can't fit Jean Grey in there.
But she's not gray. It's nothing to do with her hair.
But it's the word.
I know.
You're a good comedy writer, so I know you can write a joke.
But I do love it, and I actually dyed it. For a long time, brown. I hated it. It made me feel old. I was really insecure about it. I didn't like it. No. And when my husband and I started dating, I don't know, a couple weeks went by and it started to kind of peek through, and he was like, "What's that?" And I'm like, nothing.
What's that?
And I finally just like caved and was like, I got like a little silver thing, and he's like, oh, let it grow. And then like he was just so into it that I was like, okay, and then more and more people would comment on it and everything. It's weird because people see us as comedians on stage with a microphone. Like, I don't like attention. I get very anxious.
Are we the same person?
I think so, maybe. When you don't know your dad, my mom, maybe, no. I love to make people happy, and I like to talk and all that kind of stuff, but I don't like the focus to be on me. It makes me feel like a lot of pressure or whatever.
Yeah, at times, I believe, I get that way at times, which is ironic because they're like, why do you do stand-up comedy?
Just gotta use it. It's like cathartic. But with the hair thing, people constantly will single me out and kind of approach me about it, and so I dyed it to kind of hide that. And my husband was very instrumental in kind of encouraging that whole, like, it's okay, it's unique, it's you.
It's a good move. I'll say that.
Thank
so
you.
I'll end with this. I want to ask. I'll ask everybody now. Do you have any questions for me? A question for me?
I always have so many questions for every comic, always. And it's
for
kind
me
of annoying.
Specifically, we've been in cahoots for a while, supporting each other for a while.
I thank you. Solidarity.
I got you.
I think my thing is like with you, like people ask me this all the time, and because we're in such similar places, I'm always curious about people that are like similar to me. Like, where are you trying to go with comedy?
Well, that's
like, what's your end goal with it?
I have a real answer is I don't really know. And I think, I don't know if I like doing this more than comedy. I'm getting better. Shout out Kenny Garcia, the best advice.
I'm going to show with him on Wednesday.
Oh my God, I love him.
I'm so
he gave me the best advice ever, and it stays on repeat.
Right.
He goes, make sure you're always getting better and having fun. If you're not doing one of those two things, I'm like, oh. So right now I'm just doing that, but I'm wanting to see it through.
Right.
That's my goal. I'm going to see it through. But what has happened as within doing comedy, this popped up, this idea, and it's got legs because I have bigger and bigger names.
Right.
One coming in the fall that's big. So yeah, and so I'm really excited about that.
Yes.
And this might be where it's either going to be performing comedy or just in comedy.
In it, right.
So
there's a lot of
either
layers
way,
to that.
I'm headed in. So
Well, good. That's exciting.
Last thing we do is plug everything.
Oh, God.
Or do you just want to just give your Instagram or website or anything?
Well, okay, yeah. So the Instagram is BAM, BAMM comedy.
Yeah.
Brittany Ammons, comedy. So that's the Instagram. It's really what I check the most. I have so many things going on all the time. I have a slow pour show on Wednesday. So downtown Lawrenceville, Slow Pour Brewery. Kenny Garcia is headlining. JoJo White is featuring. I'm just going to open. It's
a good show.
It's a great show. I might have had some involvement. John Chappell is great, and he books great talent.
He is. He's very
and I've
funny.
been very appreciative that he's kind of, I wouldn't say take me under his wing, but he's tolerated my my buzzing around him, and I've tried to be symbiotic in that situation. And I think he was having a tough situation with getting a headliner for this show.
Yeah.
And I, in my head immediately, I was like, you should ask Kenny. And he was like, and I'm like, because
make it happen.
It's all about connections and networking and everything. And I will say that I might not be the best comedian out there. I'm definitely putting a lot of effort in, and I'm working at it, and I'll get better. But
we are the same person.
I can network. I know a guy that knows a guy. So I'm really proud. I'm really excited for that show. So Wednesday's gonna be really fun because even if I bomb, they're gonna kill it. It's gonna be great.
Nice.
The 17th at Will Henry's in Stone Mountain is the competition.
Very cool.
Alex is judging. John Locken is the host. Alex is judging. I won the first round. I'm not as optimistic about the second round. It's going to be tight. There's some good people. So I need all the help I can get with that one. And then the 20th, I'm going to be in Savannah for Brouhaha. Owen is running that one. That one's going to be really fun. That I'm going to mess this up. Debilitation Brewery?
Yeah.
And then...
scary name for a brewery.
and I'm like, ugh.
Put you in a coma brewery.
Blah, 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 blah.
We're going to kill you distillery.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of like a Viking theme, so maybe it's all correlated.
Is it really?
Yeah, we're doing
That's
kind of like
awesome.
a Viking,
Nice.
And the promotional material for it has been Nordic, and I'm like, this is fun. It's like brouhaha kind of a thing. And then
I get it now. I just got it. Wow, yeah, nice.
And then the 27th, I'll be at the Canopy in the Roots, and I'm excited for that because
I'm right down the road from there.
Because Tim offered me a spot on that. He's offered me two other spots, and I've had to turn them down because I had other shows. And I was just
a good room.
Heartbroken over it because I really wanted to do that room.
What can you do?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's all I've got
full
going on
plate
for
is
May.
full plate.
June is I'm starting to set my calendar, but it's not set yet. So I have a lot of things floating around.
Well, she'll be coming around near you, and traveling is an exciting thing.
Yes.
I'm having